Majak's first 10 minutes the other day?
Yeah, his first 18 minutes were really good. Yeah, I mean, we're not surprised by the amazing things he was able to do, because he's got terrific athletic ability. But what we were most pleased about were his abilities, or his ability to follow the structural instructions that we set for him, and you know, he acquitted himself really well. Which when you have a first-year player who's very nervous, and Majak was very nervous, but he was able to compete under pressure and follow the team structure, which is the hardest thing for a person from a non-football background to grasp, and he did that really well.
I know that no one likes to mention the C word, but obviously he was knocked out.
Yeah.
So does he play this weekend?
It's purely a decision for our doctor. I mean, I'd love to give you a definitive answer, but the reality is we can't. We run through a really strict process, and there's a protocol to be followed, and that final decision won't be made until at least Thursday, I would have thought. So, yeah, but all the signs are now are really encouraging, are really positive. He'll have a kick around with the boys today and again tomorrow. So we'll monitor how he pulls up from that, and we're really hopeful he'll play.
What about Robbie Tarrant? Brad, how's he tracking?
Yeah, again, we're really hopeful. He's certainly improved, but as per last week, I'm not prepared to put Robbie at risk by playing him without getting the full training load in. I don't think it's fair on him, and it's certainly not fair on the team. And the reality is for us, as we saw with Majak, we do have key forwards who are in good form. Aaron Black kicked 5. We think he kicked 6 on the weekend. Goal umpiring error, but we all make mistakes. But you know, so we think he kicked 5 or 6 on the weekend and could easily come into our side as well. So unless Robbie's 100%, we won't play him. But if he is 100%, we will.
If Majak's fit and Robbie is sort of fit as well to return, does that mean one of your big blokes, maybe Lockie or someone else, has to go, or do you reckon you can accommodate them all?
Yeah, no, potentially it does. We've got to make that decision around what the best structure is. You know, and we've got to balance that with who we think are our best players. So, you know, it's always that balancing act between structure and players in form. But what we know now is that we've got key forwards and key defenders in form, and that puts pressure on. So, you know, we'll make the decision that's best for the team.
How have you rated Lockie's form so far?
Yeah, look, I think he's far from his best, but Lockie now is in a position where he's under pressure for his place in the side. Look, I mean, we deal on the facts. We don't deal in public opinion or you know, there's some criticism that some players come in for. We judge them on their performance. Now, a great position is that up until now, we haven't been in a position where, you know, we've got viable alternatives. Quite clearly now with Aaron Black and Majak Daw, we do. So that puts all of our players under pressure, which, as I've said before, good clubs have that problem, and we're starting to develop that problem.
Past 3 games against Hawthorn, Graham Birchall seems to have been very influential. From afar, seems to have been really good so far this year. Is he going to be a big focus for you this week?
He has to be. He's, if you can't pick the All-Australian side after round 4, but I mean, geez, he'd be odds on at the moment, wouldn't he, for an All-Australian position at half back? He's a super player, Birchall. I think he's absolutely critical to the way Hawthorn play, and you know, but having said that, he is part of a very good back 6. So I think they defend really well, and they generate a lot of scoring opportunities from their defence. So, you know, we're certainly going to have to be at our best to contain all of those guys, and Birchall's a key part of that.
Brad, Piers Hanley tweeted the other night that he thought that Lindsay Thomas was staging. Is that unfair?
Well, I think Pierce's comments are for Brisbane to concern themselves with, so that's not for me to comment about. But what I can talk about is Lindsay. I mean, we've really educated him as to the way we want him to play. We think he's playing terrific footy, and the bottom line is we don't think he plays for free kicks. You know, we think that there are a lot of players in the competition who certainly accentuate a high contact. But you know, we've told Lindsay to make the ball his sole focus, to attack it with ferocity, and not worry about all that sort of stuff. You know, staging for free kicks. You know, I think the match review panel dealt with Hanley, so they obviously saw it a certain way and didn't see it as staging, because they suspended Hanley and didn't cite Lindsay for staging. So I think that's pretty clear. But the instructions to Lindsay are clear, and we think he's following those really well.
After the Dan Bates developments at Melbourne last week, Brad, is there any concern about his time at the club and the supplements program?
No, there's not. I mean, there's an obvious link. I mean, I don't think it's... I can't believe it's a news story. I mean, we didn't hide the fact that Dan Bates was our doctor for a year. Once the news broke about the link between Dr. Dan Bates and Stephen Dank. We made contact with Dan and sought a written assurance that he'd had no contact with Stephen Dank in his time here as an employee. And he's since provided that in writing that he's had no contact there. So we welcome any potential investigation as to Dan's role while he was our doctor here. The AFL have assured us that they're really confident in our processes and protocols. We were very proactive in speaking to the AFL when all of this came to light. And we're really confident in our procedures. Now, one thing that we are concerned about is that there are false accusations that any one of our staff would overrule a doctor. That's simply a lie. And it's very dangerous territory when you start making those accusations without any evidence to back it up. I can categorically say that's not true. And unfortunately, when Caroline Wilson speaks these days about North Melbourne, most people think that it's pursuing a personal vendetta she had against James Brayshaw for a long time. So, unfortunately for us, when Caroline speaks about our club, I think most people probably tune out.
What about the AFL's position about the doctor having the final say on medical matters? Just in principle, do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there can be no other way. And that's certainly, in my time at North Melbourne, the doctor has had absolute final say on all medical decisions. And that is cut and dried. And that's always been the case. So to suggest otherwise, I think is libelous.
Has anyone from the club been in contact with the AFL since the Bates developments last week?
Yeah, we were always in full contact with the AFL, and I'd suggest instead of asking me, ask Andrew Demetrio or ask Dr. Harry Unglick, the medical officer at the AFL, if they have any concerns with our medical processes and procedures, because we've been open and honest and we've disclosed absolutely everything to the AFL. So we have no concerns, but we won't sit idly by and allow accusations to be made against staff members.
Say the suggestions are libelous, will you take legal action?
Not me personally. I mean, it's nothing directed at me, but I think professional credibility and reputation is everything. And when that's brought into question, I think you've got a right to defend yourself. So I think we'll be seeking an explanation of those comments.
Just be seeing Gibson. I know sort of second-year blues typically would affect a younger player more than a mature age guy, but are you impressed with how he's backed up this year?
No, I'm impressed, yeah, but I'm not surprised. I think that most people have been surprised by Sam Gibson. We haven't been surprised because his pre-season form suggests that he's just going to continue on the way he does. He's a great preparer, and when you prepare really well, you generally perform really well. So, yeah, he has impressed us, but he hasn't surprised us.
And a couple of weeks to go with Boomer's band. It's sort of at the stage now where you really ramp up his training to sort of get him, I guess, match fit?
Yeah, Boomer's jumping out of his skin. He's had a really good preparation. Obviously he hasn't had great match preparation. Did a bit of work in the NAB Cup, but he's training really well. And after 346 games experience, we don't think he'll take too long to put out some good form.
Shoot me down if it's a dumb question, but I take it he will come straight back in a fortnight, straight into this.
I think that's a dumb question.
What about Buddy, Brad? Kicked 13 last year. How do you nullify him?
Free agency, probably. If we don't get him, we hope someone else does. No. He's just a great player. I mean, Scott Thompson's in great form, so you'd suggest that they're going to spend some time next to each other, and we learned a lot from the game in Launceston last year, and we need to, because clearly we've got a lot of work to do to bridge that gap. So. It's going to take a really good effort from our defence and a really good effort from our midfield to restrict his supply.
How much confidence does the first win give you going into this big game?
I suppose what it does is it gives us and the players a bit of a reward for effort. But I don't think that our form was too different on the weekend to what it's been in the first 3 weeks. So, the win itself is good because it gets us on the board and hopefully gets us away. But overall, I think our form is trending in the right direction.